Hi, I'm Marina Moon, and in this video I'm going to talk about some of my common mistakes that I made when I first started reading reversals with tarot. My hope is that anybody that wants to read with tarot reversals and might be in a place of fear and frustration can learn from some of my mistakes and can learn more quickly than I did how to get out of them. So let me back up a little bit and tell you just a little bit of background about myself and how I approach learning. So I approached learning the tarot with very much an academic, from an academic place, which meant that I bought that huge book by Beneville Wen, and I delved into it, and I think aside from one chapter, I've read that puppy. And if anybody's familiar with that book, it is like thick. And I went into it, not because I necessarily wanted to, but I went into it thinking that there was a right way to read tarot and a wrong way to read tarot. And I knew that intuition played an important part in it, but what was foremost in my mind was getting it right. And it's been a journey for me, of course, but that's the attitude that I approached reading reversals. I always knew from the beginning that I wanted to at least experiment with reading reversals. Now, it's not everybody's cup of tea, and if it's not your cup of tea and you don't read with reversals, that's absolutely fine. I knew I was drawn to the possibility of reading with reversals. That was very attractive to me. So my number one mistake that I want to share with you is that I went into it with a very kind of academic, black and white, right and wrong way to read reversals. And let me tell you a little bit about what I mean by that. So for example, let's take the Sun card. The Sun card is a wonderful example. So if the Sun upright means success, and it means joy, and it brings things into consciousness, then what does it mean when we flip it upside down? I got very simplistic in how I read reversals. And one of the things I noticed is that if, for example, let's take the Sun again, if the Sun upright meant joy and happiness and success and consciousness, then the reverse must be true. I really liked, again, from an academic point of view, from a learning point of view, I should say, I really like that approach because it simplified things, and who wouldn't want to simplify things, right? But what ended up happening is that when I read that way, when I wanted the card in reverse to mean just a few things, like I overly simplified, and it was usually the opposite of the upright card, and I thought, well, I'm the one reading it, I can make whatever meaning I want. It put me into a place of fear and frustration, which, of course, if you read tarot, when you're in a place of fear and frustration, your intuition and your ability to give a good reading and your ability to receive information intuitively doesn't work very well. So I found that when I would get reversed cards, I would just kind of immediately go into this like, oh no, it's reversed, and it's usually not good when it's reversed. And I found myself just really dreading those reverse cards, which tied up my intuition, and it hurt my ability to be more exploratory with the reversed card. What I mean by that is, one thing I have learned through these mistakes is that there can be so many different kinds of meanings with a reversal that it's very hard for a reversal to mean only one thing. Just like I've learned that upright cards mean more than just, a set of things or a limited range of things, right? The Sun card can mean a lot of different things when it's in its upright position. Generally, there's an understanding of what the Sun and its upright meaning is, But even so, even if this means success, even if this means joy, what success and joy mean in the context of that particular reading will be channeled through the reader, and that definition will be expanded based on what's coming through intuitively for the reader. And what I learned is that's even more true when things are in reverse. So, for example, I'll just give you a few examples of what I mean by this. So, if the Eight of Pentacles in its upright card generally means dedication and discipline and really working toward mastering something, the reverse position could mean not working hard enough, or sometimes it can mean the opposite, like being too perfectionistic, working too hard, making something more difficult than it needs to be. One of the things that I have come to appreciate with reversed cards is our need to really explore intuitively what that reversal means in the context of the reading. And I want to give you just an example that came up last week when I read with the Temperance card in reverse. So the Temperance card upright is about healing. This is a very healing card. It's about bringing higher energies into lower energies. It's about moderation. But when I drew this card in reverse, now traditionally the Temperance in reverse can be about not being in moderation. So a card of excess, this can be a card that might suggest addictive tendencies. But when I just sat with this card, for me in my reading, the message that started coming through was that I was approaching a situation in a way where the situation was meant to be healing. By going through this process of what I was doing, it was meant to be a healing situation. But because I was going about it in a specific way, I wasn't really allowing that healing to occur. Okay, that's a very specific message. But a couple years ago, I would have never received that message because I would have looked at this card and thought, this card means X, Y, and Z. None of those are particularly good. And it would have just locked up my ability to explore this message further. And so that would be the main message I would give to you if you find that you're in a place of fear and frustration with reverse cards. First, are you ready to read with reversals? Is the question I would ask you. And second, if you feel like you are, if you feel like, okay, I'm ready to try this, allow your intuition to speak more than what the guidebook says. Because some guidebooks will give you an upright meaning, and they'll also give you a reversed meaning. And the reverse meanings may be wonderful, but they're still very limited in their capacity to explain all the possibilities of that reversal. There is a wonderful book, and I should have pulled this out earlier, and I don't know if I have it, but it's called, I think it's called Tarot Reversals by Mary Greer. And when I initially got that book, I was so frustrated with that book because it talks about all the possibilities, right? So it could mean this, or it could mean that, or it could mean that, or it could mean that. And when I was reading it, I thought, well, what good is this book? Because you're throwing everything in there. It could mean all of those things. What I've come to understand is that reversals are like that. They hold so many possibilities, and it's up to us to decipher in the context of that reading which one of those possibilities applies. And the lovely thing about that is if we can work with card reversals in that way, we can get so much information. from that reversal. So much intuitive information can come through us. Okay, so one more thing that I'd like to say about this, about what helped me to read tarot reversals, is working with round decks. I have a lovely friend that introduced me to the Mother Peace tarot deck, this puppy. And the Mother Peace tarot deck comes with a guidebook. Okay, you can buy it with a guidebook. And because of the nature of round decks, you can, when you're drawing and you're pulling out the cards, you can get the card upright, you can get the card pointed to the left or the right, or of course in reverse. And when I read the guidebook is pretty neat in that it gives you an upright interpretation, an interpretation if the card is off to the left, off to the right, or in reverse. Let me give you an example of what this might look like. What might this sound like? So here's the Ace of Wands, right? This little cute little guy coming out of the egg, full of fire and energy and enthusiasm, something coming into birth. Here are the lovely backs. So the upright, she bursts forth with energy or rebirth. There's a little bit more, but I'm going to skip it. If it's to the left, she has a hard time summoning enough energy to break out of her shell. To the right, she may feel more energy than she knows what to do with. So to the left, too little energy. To the right, too much. And if it's in reverse, she can't feel or activate her passion. So it's blocked. And the more I read this guidebook, the more a certain image started forming in my mind. And the image that started forming in my mind was that of a volume knob. So when it's upright, it's just right. When it's to the left, it's too little. When it's to the right, it's too much. The energy is too much. And when it's upside down, the energy is blocked. And that got me to thinking about the breadth and the range of possibilities with a card. So, of course, now when you work with upright, when you work with rectangular cards, you can only get upright or reversed. But once again, when the card is in reverse, it could mean that the energy is blocked in some way, or it could mean that, let's take a better example here, the Chariot. It could mean that this energy is blocked, or it could mean that it's too little or too much. And that really started to help me expand my the range of possibilities, that helped me to really start to understand all those possibilities that might be there when the card shows up in reverse. So if you want to read with reversals, my main advice to you would be have fun, play. Don't be like me and get all serious and academic and really want to know, like, what does this mean? What does this mean? Allow your intuition to really explore what that card might mean, and again, in the context of the reading. If you find, again, like I did, that you're in that place of fear and frustration whenever you draw those reversals, I would consider waiting and maybe allowing, doing some exercises or seeing if you can approach it in another way that might get you into that attitude of play and exploration, because that really, really helped me. Okay, so I think that was all I had to say. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please hit like on this video, and I would invite you to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.